Live on Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, just about to be live on Rockfin. Early AM on the East Coast, late at night for you party animals. On the West Coast, let me make sure this Rockfin stream goes live and then we'll dive in. Going to be a quick show. You know, for Independence Day, thought I had to do something. We are now live on Rockfin as well. Happy 4th of July to all of the Americans listening. Happy Thursday to all of you foreigners who are tuning in. If any of you are in the Woodstock, Georgia area tomorrow, I will be doing some man on the street stuff, some interviews, and just kind of playing around at the festival. They have a parade, then a festival. I believe Garland Favorito and Voter GA has a float in the festival. I don't know what the float looks like. Maybe it's a giant ballot box or a giant Dominion voting machine with a big X on it, hackable. I don't know. I'm excited to find out. Zach from Liberty Libations will be joining me there. And it should be a good time. Come up and say hi if you see me. And yeah, we'll celebrate Independence Day together. And I don't usually do this because I'm terrible at self-promoting, but I need to do a little bit of self-promoting. So if you like the show, share it with your friend or multiple friends that I assume that you have, hopefully, and family who you think will be receptive to it. I know a lot of us are the black sheep conspiracy theorists, so maybe we can open some eyes or maybe share it with your other conspiracy theorist friends to help grow the show. You can also leave a 5-star review and a comment that warms my heart, which honestly, those comments that people leave have helped me continue to keep doing the show a number of times over the years. They mean everything. Thank you to those who have left them. And if you want to help, but you aren't in a position to, when it comes to donating or anything, that's a great way to help keep a fire lit inside of me. You can also help financially support the show by giving a one-time donation at paypal.com/paypalme/Brad Binkley, at Brad Binkley on PayPal. You can find this link on my link tree in my X profile. Make it a little bit easier. Or you can subscribe to patreon.com/propaganda report, which by doing so, you will get this show ad-free. I take out all of the ads for subscribers. And in addition, you'll get the premium content that I'm able to post when I post it. For example, like the guest appearances that I make a couple of times a month on Sam Tripoli's premium show. I will be uploading those to the Patreon feed from here on out. And for those of you who are on locals, there's been some issues with uploading lately, so I apologize. I'm trying to get that worked out. But in the meantime, that's what I will get that worked out soon. I don't know what's going on. So I do apologize for any delays there. But this is how I help keep the show going. You guys sustain it. And I don't sell any products, not right now anyway. I'm working on getting a product site up. But I've never been a product pusher or a shameless self-promoter. I just haven't been when I really should have been. And might have to be a little bit in the future to keep everything going. So any help you can give or offer in any way, in any of these ways mentioned, I will appreciate it very much. And you'll be helping keep this show on the road. And thank you to those who've already been supporting the show and have for a long time in a variety of ways. I could not do it without you. And I mean that. I couldn't. I could not do it without y'all's support. Follow me on X. That's the best way to get in touch with me. Follow me on youtube.com/Brad Binkley. I know it gets censored still. Follow me there. And follow me on Rumble at rumble.com/c/prop report. And you can find all of my shows on any podcasting app as well as my website, propagandafight.com. So I apologize for the promotional intro there. I don't usually do that. You guys who've listened know that I actually never do that. And I promote myself less than probably anybody that you listen to. I just want to get good information out there and have some fun, and I forget to do that when I need to be doing it more. All right, top story, or the only story that's being covered anyway today, is more and more Democrats calling for Biden to step down as talk of Kamala being the nominee grows. Kamala has closed the gap on predictit.org, which we showed some of that last night, on the question of who the Democrat nominee will be. She's closed the gap down to 9 points or cents, the way that it works on Predictit. The way that it works is like Biden will be I don't know what it is right now, 48 cents, Kamala 39 cents. If you buy one share of Biden because you think he'll be the nominee, and he is the nominee, then you win 52. You win a full dollar, 52 cents will be your profit. That's the way that it works. And Kamala was over 50 points or cents below Joe just a couple of days ago. He was around 68 cents, and Kamala was in second at 14 cents, I believe. She has closed that gap all the way to 9 cents and continues to rise. But this is just people speculating, so who knows what that means. It's also being reported that Biden has privately acknowledged that he only has a few days to recover from last week's debate. All of the news, by the way, not that this is any different than it usually is, all of the news being reported on this comes from anonymous sources. So that's why we have all these conflicting reports, because you can't have people with names who can be tracked down as a source of information who are insiders who are saying the opposite thing. You have to keep these things anonymous so that they can keep this fake back and forth. And I believe it is fake. I believe all of this is a conflict show to create drama, to get attention, to make it look like Biden really thought it through when he steps down. I think he'll step down. It's all a show. They all have a role to play. So you have to have anonymous sources to do that. You can't. No source ever in the history of our country is ever going to have a name or a face again, apparently. Just anonymous sources who are familiar with people who are familiar with people who they knew might have been inside the room of some meeting that might have happened. That's the type of sourcing we get that has just been taken and asserted as truth by all these media networks. That isn't, unless this anonymous source says something they don't like, then you arrest them or you just have a drone blow their head off. I think that's the model. Speculating, obviously. I have derailed. Along with Biden possibly maybe admitting that he only has a few days to recover, his press secretary and his campaign team continue to do, as expected, say that Biden is actually not considering stepping down. He is all the way in, despite all of these claims. That back and forth I'm talking about. And it's also being reported that after a phone call that Biden had with a group of concerned governors. We're a group of concerned governors. And we've gotten together to talk to you, Joe. So he had this phone call, and apparently these governors came out of that phone call saying, you know what? He proved it. Everything that we needed to see that we didn't see in that debate, Joe proved in this very short phone call. And we are now all in for Joe, which is really a pretty stupid thing to believe based on everything we've seen in the news and Joe's performance. What could Joe have said during this private meeting? This is anonymously sourced again. What could he have told these concerned governors who, up until this story of this phone call was reported, were ready to say, Joe, you need to step aside? How did he convince them that Thursday was just an anomaly, which they know it's not? What did he say to them? Did he say, I will blow all of you? I will blow you. I will blow you. I will blow you. And those governors just happen to be the handful of governors who get so horny about getting blown by a guy in his 80s. I mean, they're counting down the days. You know how they used to have these sick things back in the day? They'd be like, so many days till so-and-so is 18, which is really pretty sick that they used to have websites like that. These guys have like a tracker that's like so-and-so days until Lindsey Graham turns 80 because we know he'll blow all of us. Maybe that's what Joe said to them to get them. Obviously, this is stupid. You get my point. This makes no sense. It's all this narrative. I mean, what did he say? Like, there's just nothing outside of him going and doing some live event for an extended period of time with no teleprompter and no help, looking extremely sharp, maybe doing some hurdles, maybe some push-ups, maybe golf whatever, nothing outside of that, live streamed, is going to really convince anybody of anything. So this is all, it's all BS. I think it's funny that they promote it out there, and some people will believe it like it matters, but they continue to derail. Back to the news. So, along with these governors, getting that promise of whatever to feel better, allegedly, there was also an email sent out by the DNC yesterday that said that Biden is staying in the race, okay? He's all the way in. Send those campaign dollars because our guy Joe is great. So maybe he'll stay in. Who knows? Will he, won't he? I don't know. The drama, it's so high. I have to tune in and find out. That's part of it. Part of it is to get these ratings. I mean, there's a lot to it, but that's part of it. What should we make of this mixed messaging they're sending us other than, the theater aspect of it? Is it building up to the potential of a big, dramatic, open Democrat convention event? I think, when is their convention? In August? I mean, that could be chaos if that happened. Very entertaining television, though. So that, on the table for sure, I'm guessing. It could also be, however, just a little political theater, as I described, that will continue to happen up until the second Biden does indeed step down and pass the torch. And if you ever notice these candidates that step down, everybody on their campaign, up until the second they announce it, adamantly says they will be continuing forward. So it's not like any of this is different than any other time there's been speculation about a candidate dropping out of a race for whatever reason. I mean, just think back of Nikki Haley. Up until the second they said it, she was all the way in. You know what the Dems should do? The Dems should nominate Nikki Haley, but they can't do that. It's just not practical, apparently. Back to those campaign emails that said Biden was staying in. This was reported kind of on social media and in the news as maybe this is, in fact, real evidence. They're telling their donors and stuff that he's staying in. I don't see it that way at all, because Biden and Kamala, they're on the same ticket. So all of the money they raise through these campaign emails, regardless of what they say, can be transferred right over to Kamala with no obstacles. And that is why Kamala is the most practical potential replacement for them if they want to avoid the chaos of an open convention. Maybe they don't want to avoid it. I don't know. But if they do, I think Kamala herself could be a little bit of chaos. But Kamala's the only one that can have all that fundraising money just directly given to. Just like she's the only one who, if Biden steps down and she takes over, would immediately get all of the primary delegates that Biden got across the country. If it's not her, that's going to be a problem. This is going to cause a lot of confusion, lead to the chaos I spoke of. The reason is because the funding dollars and the delegates, they weren't sent to Biden. They didn't vote for Biden. They voted for the Biden-Harris ticket. That's why there's no obstacles to just shifting everything over to her. I don't even think the donors can get a refund, from what I understand, if it's Kamala. They can't even ask for their money back and get it. If any other candidate steps in, then they can demand a refund, and they have to get that refund. So there are benefits to having Kamala step in, which is why I think they have these polls that they're talking about. Harris polls better against Trump than Biden. I don't think either one of them really polls very well, but this is a CNN poll. We should note a CNN poll, which any poll should really, it can be skewed, obviously, but I think this poll is more made up than anything else for the purpose of, as I talked about yesterday, pacing and leading their audience, who they've done such an effective job of propagandizing, into just being balls to the wall, ride or die with Biden, who Biden could collapse on stage for 5 minutes and they'd say, that's just a stutter. Yeah. No, people who have stutters periodically collapse and stop breathing for 5 minutes. What are you, stupid? Everybody knows that about stuttering people, which, as I said yesterday, I know somebody like that. You have to take those people and you have to break them free of that effective propaganda job and get them to see, oh my gosh, it wasn't just a stutter. It was dementia. And what a decent, dignified man who should now hand it off to Kamala. So that's the idea of this whole show they're putting on, in my opinion, is to get people to go that way. And that CNN poll showing that Kamala is the best to stop Trump, has the best, he polls better, is part of that. Another poll that factors in, I mentioned this on Sam's show last night, is they did this poll on whether or not people were voting for Trump or against Biden, or for Biden and against Trump. And Biden supporters, I believe it was around 75% of them, were more enthusiastic about voting against Trump than they were for Biden, which makes replacing him, maybe you don't even, with that, thinking, I guess you could just have a literal corpse up there and you're still going to get 75% of the vote. I guess it's the takeaway there. But that makes you feel a lot better if you're on that side of it by replacing him, because they're not going for Biden. And I find it funny, this presumption that was even a question. Like, these pollsters went in there and said, we're not sure. Are these people who are pro-Biden, pro-dementia face, are voting for him? Are they actually for Biden? Are they against? Of course they're against Trump. This is their whole propaganda apparatus. You create a system of media where you can turn somebody into a devil. This is in the oldest propaganda book since words have been written. It's been demonize your opponent, give them a single figure to focus their energy and hate on, and you can get them to do anything. And that's what the media has done. So they know very well that most of Biden's voters, they think Trump is Hitler. It's not pro-Biden. On the other side of it, interestingly enough, it was the reverse, where I think it was 75% of people voting for Trump are pro-Trump, 25% against Biden. Probably not that even of numbers, but that's the gist of it. The point is that they're just trying to walk their audience from one place to another so that everybody's on board with getting rid of Biden, in my opinion. Like I said, I don't know if they're going to choose chaos or if they're going to choose Kamala. And I think that Kamala is chaos. And it is my opinion that Joe will, on his own terms, it won't happen after a fumbling incident where people say, we got to just take the keys away from granddad. It'll happen as, I don't say dignified, because I don't think I think Biden is trash. Just because he's old doesn't make him a nice guy. I think that they're criminals, but it will be in an interview or something where he is at his best, an early morning interview, and he will say it's time to pass the torch and it's time to hand it over to Kamala, and he will endorse Kamala, in my opinion. And I believe he might do this as early as Friday evening, Friday afternoon or early morning when the interview is being recorded, during his first long-form interview since the debate with ABC News propagandist and former Bill Clinton communication director and senior advisor / this is a handler, George Stephanopoulos, which the details of this interview that I reported on yesterday have changed. Why have they changed? Well, originally the interview was going to be recorded Friday early in the day. They don't say exactly. It'll be in the morning is when it'll be recorded, between the hours of 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. when he's not going through dementia sundowning. That's when they will record it, when he is most likely to be there. They were then going to play a teaser on air that evening, and then the rest of it would air in parts on Saturday and Sunday on their ABC News shows. This has changed, apparently. That interview will now air later in the day Friday, the evening Friday, as a prime time special at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's interesting. They also said, well, I don't know if they said this. See, CNN is reporting this, and other networks, CNN, the first to report it, I believe. I actually can't find anywhere where ABC News is actually reporting this, but they also haven't come out and said this is wrong. So it's kind of weird. Why can't you report it yourself? Why is CNN having to report it for you? Whatever. CNN also reported that ABC News will also be releasing an unedited transcript of that interview on that same day, Friday. That's big news. That's a big change, right? I mean, we know that's not true. We know it's not true that they're going to release an unedited version of the transcript. What they will release is they'll release a transcript that they try and make look like it's unedited. So they might have a little bit of commentary, pre-debate commentary that they include, or, oh, my mic's not working, or can we get some water? Like stuff like that, and make it seem unedited. But it'll definitely be edited. It's just not, you just can't believe a statement like that. Because they could do it live. They could just do the interview live, but they're not. So why are they making these changes? Or this interview, and it's all part of the show, but what they're actually doing, or at least some people believe they're doing, I don't believe that this is true. This is just the commentary. They're saying that, and this part of it I talked about yesterday, so this is correct. If they chop it up and tease it out over a couple of days, and then that's not going to prove what they need to prove, what I was talking about earlier. Biden needs to be seen in a long-form interview without help, the same type of setting as the debate, to show that that was an anomaly. We know it wasn't, but if we're being honest, if we're playing this little game, they have to show the same type of thing and show that this time it's different, right? So as I pointed out yesterday, having all that chopped up stuff isn't going to prove anything to anybody. Just that things can be edited in a certain way to make it look a certain way. And so commentators about the change here have said, well, they also could edit out some of his best moments. They could air that interview if they did it like that, and they could take out all of Biden's great moments, which is hilarious to claim that. That's definitely not what has ever happened or what would happen. There's not a bunch of brilliant, amazing Joe Biden interview moments sitting on the cutting room floor of all of the news networks. I mean, stick your pecker in your own face hole for even claiming that, you dipshit media. I mean, how do you even say that with a serious face? I guess that's what they get paid to do. They're not journalists. They get paid to go say the type of things that people who should be plowing their own face hole with their own penises would typically say. But they just do it with a highbrow attitude, looking down upon people as though it's a matter of fact. It's just it's so tiresome, their little game. The other side of that belief is that they'll just edit out the bad. Of course, there's no good parts. They'll cut the bad parts out. You want to actually see the flubs, which that part of it is true. And then you can take this unedited transcript, and that will prove to people, if we have the unedited transcript and we show the long form interview, which could be as long as 7 or 8 minutes. I don't know. Who knows how long it'll be? What if it's like a 5-minute interview and ABC just inserts like 30 commercials? So it makes it look like it's an hour and a half. Or feel like an hour and a half. That'd be funny. That'd be funny. They might actually do something like that just to see, because I think they're getting more and more bold about trying random things just to see what people will, swallow up. I just think that this whole argument is stupid because, like I said, the interview's happening early in the day. They would live stream it if they were serious or not serious. The editors, of which they have many at ABC News, will have probably 8 to 10 hours to actually chop this thing up and edit it any way they want, which you'll notice in the cuts and the weird endings of sentences and stuff like that. So this isn't going to fool anybody, and nobody's believing that this is actually an unedited transcript when you could air it live. So this is just a con job. But I think there's another possibility for why they changed the day and time of this interview. I hope my mic is working, by the way. I'm doing yet another setup. I've been experimenting with setups a lot. So if it's not, then I've been talking into the ether, and you're going to have to bring in some expert lip readers to find out what I said, which I think that is something on the horizon. I actually did see an article about lip readers being brought in to interpret things a politician had said. I just think that's a hilarious next level that we're going to here. Anyway, I think that they're changing it to Friday night primetime special because that is when Biden is going to announce in primetime on his own volition that he has decided, after talking with Jill and Hunter and the family, that it's time for him to step aside as a white man, as an old white man, and to pass the torch to a BIPOC candidate in Kamala Harris. And he is then going to endorse her fully. And this special will be about, basically, it will be Kamala Harris's announcement through Joe Biden's mouth. I mean, isn't that what they do? Haven't we seen this before? These CEOs, these white male CEOs of certain companies, for DEI and ESG purposes, make these grand shows of, I am no longer going to be the CEO of this company because I'm a white male and I should use my platform to uplift the minorities in my company and give them a chance to lead. A grand virtue signal. That might be very well what we see on Friday evening. I hope so. I mean, I think it would be absolutely hilarious and entertaining if we got that in there. It would also be funny if I'm wrong, and they do drag this whole thing out to the convention, and Joe Biden goes on with Stephanopoulos, and this would be super funny if Biden goes on and he doubles down about how he's going to continue this fight and continue running, and while he's doubling down on it, he falls asleep during the interview, then wakes himself up and doubles down that he's staying in the race again, and then wanders over and pisses in a potted plant. Well, I mean, that would be great entertainment, but I don't think that that's going to be it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think they're going to use this platform to launch the Kamala Harris for president campaign. Raise her up, ESG for the president. Great job. So, where was I here? We could actually still even get a Kamala Harris presidency before the election. Joe Biden might very well resign the presidency so that we get that first black female president before August, maybe even by next week. Wouldn't that be super fun, huh? We get a couple of months of Montel Williams' side chick as president side chick. I love that possibility, and I support it. Unburdened by what has been president side chick. That could be her slogan. President side chick, unburdened by what has been. I can see the hats right now. Trump's campaign, shifting gears a little bit, has started presuming that Kamala is the candidate in some of their ads, including this ad here. This is so, I hate the media. I just hate them. What's up, Sam? Thank you, Sam. Appreciate that. They're just so disingenuous. Look at this right here. This is the Daily Beast. And the headline, it's about this Trump ad, says Trump caught on video claiming broken down Biden has quit. It's Kamala. Caught on video. Caught on video. Trump shared the video on his own Truth Social page. He wasn't caught on video. He knew he was on video. They even called it a leak. This wasn't a leak. This was a campaign ad. He wouldn't be sharing it so stupid. It wasn't caught on video. It's very staged. Just because it's a candid shot doesn't mean. That's the thing in advertising, candid videos. That's actually the best advertising. You go on TikTok, those are the videos that go the most viral. The ones that aren't blatantly in your face an ad, but they are an ad just filtered through a candid seeming video that at first glance, if you're not paying attention, might not even seem like there's a product being pushed. That's what this is. And they know that. But Trump knew they would report it this way also. Not to get too far ahead. So here's the ad. Let me show you the ad that Trump's campaign is doing now. Make that a little bit bigger. Can you guys see that? Let's see. All right, here you go. It's very, dadgummit. I don't go on True Social a lot, but I'll tell you, Trump's channel posts all the time. Here it is.
You gave me so much. How did I do with the debate the other night?
Oh, amazing.
Kick that old broken down pile of crap.
All right, so I'm going to dissect this a bit. Trump is sitting in a golf cart. He's in the driver's seat with an aide, I guess. And the aide's actually looking at the camera. They know full well there's a camera phone filming them. And the video starts off, Trump's talking to the employees of the golf course before he drives off and either plays around or takes the golf cart back. But he is driving. I think that's actually a key part of this, which I'll say why in a minute. But the video starts off where you see, it looks like 2 or 3 $50 bills in the hands of the golf course employee. And then when it goes over to Trump, Trump is holding like a handful of more $50 bills that he's about to. So it shows him as a good tipper to start off.
With the debate the other night.
Amazing.
Kick that old broken down pile of
I was
crap.
handing it to him.
It's a bad guy. He just quit, you know. He's quitting the race. Is that right? Yep, I got him out of the race. And that means we have Kamala. I think she's going to be better. She's so bad. She's so pathetic. It's so amazing. It's just so.
I'll take that back, but I just noticed this. Trump's wearing a shirt that says 47, and I think it says MAGA on the collar. Branding, very specific branding. They know what they're doing here.
Fucking bad, so pathetic.
Yes, it's
and
MAGA.
That means we have Kamala. I think she's going to be better. She's so bad. She's so pathetic. It's so amazing. It's just so fucking bad. So I just can't imagine.
A little colorful language.
Imagine that guy dealing with Putin and the president of China, who's a fierce person. He's a fierce man, a very tough guy. And they see him, they can't. But they just announced he's probably quitting.
Good.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
And knocking him out, right?
Right. Yeah. All right. So now Trump is driving off. He is driving. He's driving away from the golf cart. I want to check something real quick. I want to see. Let's type in MAGA golf shirt. I bet everything that we saw in that video is branded and on sale at Trump's campaign website. 47. Let's see. MAGA store. Official MAGA gear. I know he's got a golf section. Accessories, hats, stickers, drinkware, yard sign, apparel, polo. Is that a polo shirt? I think it was a polo shirt. Yeah, there it is right there. Right there. There it is. Here. That's the shirt he was wearing. It says America. Yeah, that's the one. I think that's the one. Maybe that wasn't the one. It's similar to that. I don't know. I'm not going to, I need to research that a little bit more. But there was no accident about what we saw there. And them reporting this as a leaked video is just it's just BS. It's always BS. But at first it's kind of like, you see this video and my first reaction was, who is this for? It almost seems like a provocation in a sense. Maybe let's provoke Joe into hanging on a little bit longer by saying, I got rid of him. I mean, imagine that. Somebody says, I got rid of you. You're quitting. He's a quitter. That's going to make you psychologically go, all right, well, I'll stay in because he says that. Or it's him talking to, or trying to maybe appeal to Democrat donors. Oh, I think Kamala's easier. So maybe they do the brokered convention thing, or maybe it's actually not really either one of those as the main message. Maybe the main message is what I was referring to a second ago, because that's what stood out to me. He knew the media would report it the way that they did, as a leaked video where he uses colorful language to say bad, mean things about his opponents. But when you click on it, the first thing you see is Trump's a good tipper. Guys handed money over to these golf course workers like it's nothing. You also see that he's in the driver's seat. When's the last time you've seen Joe Biden in the driver's seat of any vehicle? I can't remember when. How many of the people who call anything Biden does a stutter, how many of them do you think would get in the car if Joe Biden was driving? People who continue to say Biden just has a stutter should be required to drive around with Joe Biden at the wheel. I mean, on the highway and stuff. Do you think anyone would do that? No, but they would vote for him still. So you show Trump doing a number of things that Biden simply cannot show that he can do. One, drive something, a vehicle. Two, he's not cheap. He's throwing money. He appears to be tipping well. Maybe, I mean, it's all a show. We know that, but I'm just talking about what people see when they click on it. The branding on the shirts, and then the energy. And he's playing golf. So they had this whole thing about playing golf during the debate, and here's Trump playing golf. I think this ad was as much about what people see visually and I think the words Trump said were bait to get the media to cover it and show Trump doing things that Biden, you will never see him doing. Not anymore. Which Biden is probably a really bad tipper, if I had to guess. He gives all his money to his son so he can give it to drug dealers and pimps. All right. That ad counters, or at least maybe attempts to, the narrative, which was very predictable. The media's already started going into this narrative, and they're going to continue to, which is if Biden is getting all this scrutiny for his well-being, Trump should also get the scrutiny. And if Biden steps down, Trump should step down. I mean, that's one of the main benefits of Biden stepping down, is the media can then say, to this narrative anyway, basically, we took the keys from one grandpa trying to drive the country off a cliff. Shouldn't we do the same to the other? And if Biden were to step down, all of the focus on age would be directed at Trump. Right now, it's hard to say Trump's too old because you have him next to Biden. It's like if you had Biden next to Jimmy Carter. People would be like, how is this 80-year-old so much less competent than this 150-year-old or whatever? I say maybe let's make Jimmy Carter the Democrat nominee, which I've been saying Carter 2024 for like 2 years now, by the way. But you get what I mean. Without Biden there, they can then focus in on how much younger Kamala is and Trump. And so Trump is putting out these videos of him doing sports stuff, physical activity. Not that golf is that physical of an activity, or that we saw. I mean, it is. I'm not going to say it's not. But we didn't see that there. We just saw it alluded to. So maybe it was part of that. These ads are very interesting to me to dissect. They do so many of them, and they have these teams that they try and hit certain groups of people and influence in certain ways. Some are hits, some are misses. The Wall Street Journal even did a poll on whether both candidates are too old or not that they posted today, and they said that 47% of people they surveyed thought that both candidates should step down. And that's going to be the shift in the narrative if and when he does step down. So let's skip past that there. Where was he? All right, so the media is also continuing, and this is part of the whole show they're doing, is they're continuing to pretend like, like they haven't been gaslighting people over Biden's, well, mental health and whatever for the past 4 years by just gaslighting people a little bit less is what it is. They're pretending to be shocked, and they just discovered this for the first time, and they're doing it with headlines like this disingenuous BS headline. Is that on screen? Yeah. So here's what it says. This is the stupidest headline. It's every time they get stupid, they just say, you don't think they could get any stupider. They're just like, hold my crack pot, and beer, and then they get stupider. Here's the headline from the AP. Biden at 81, often sharp and focused, but sometimes confused and forgetful. I love the play on words with sometimes and often. And, most of the time is what they're trying to say with often, but then he's occasionally, I would think somebody maybe should fact check the framing of the time he is in, there versus the time that he is confused and forgetful. But this article is much of the same that I covered yesterday with Axios, talking about the two Bidens, which is Biden has dementia sundowning. He has sundowning. That's what happens with people with dementia, like Biden, is between the hours, often 4:30 up until 11 or later, is when they experience agitation, when they wander off. All the things we've been seeing Biden do for years is very common in some patients with advanced dementia, which Biden very obviously has. But they don't even mention dementia in any of these. They just act like it's, I've never heard of dementia. Nah. The article says, won't go through too much of this one. President Joe Biden's conduct behind closed doors in the Oval Office. I love this narrative. In the Oval Office, on Air Force One, and in meetings around the world. I would sure hope that it's behind closed doors when they're on Air Force One. I don't want to be on Air Force One if there's an open door. Biden's conduct behind closed doors in the Oval Office, Air Force One, and in meetings around the world is described in the same dual way by those who regularly see him in action. Yeah, and the media is not one of those. Okay. It says he is often sharp and focused. I would like to get that quantified a little bit. How many specific times within a time period? Let's get some numbers on this. But he also has his moments, particularly later in the evening, sundowning, when his thoughts seem jumbled and he trails off in mid-sentence and seems confused. Dementia. Sometimes he doesn't grasp the finer points of policy details. He occasionally forgets people's names, stares blankly, and moves slowly around the room. This is like a WebMD description of the symptoms of dementia, without dementia ever being mentioned. From the AP. All part of this narrative. I mean, it's all part of this show they're putting on. I know I keep saying that, but pointing out more examples of it. Speaking of which, I do believe it will be Kamala, and my prediction is it happens Friday. Maybe they extend it out, but I think that's the best platform with Stephanopoulos, who has long been a handler of presidents. So he's the perfect person to go to for an announcement like Kamala is now going to be handed the torch. If it is indeed Kamala, and she seems to be the practical choice, I want to say congrats to Montel Williams, whose former side chick could end up being president for, I think, as early as next week. I think this could happen. I think she could be president possibly next week, if he were to actually just say, I'm done with the presidency. Because that would actually make Biden even more of a legend in their narrative. Because that's the narrative they're constructing. That if Biden recognizes when the time has come to step aside and looks back upon the great work he did in his first term and all of his time in Congress, and then he gives it to a black woman. He goes out with dignity, a hero. Now let's imagine Biden takes it a step further and resigns the presidency and then becomes solely responsible for the first black female president in history. Then he's a legend in their narrative. That's what I would recommend him doing if I were one of his propaganda D-suckers. So congratulations to Montel Williams. But if this happens, there's going to be more attention paid to Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff. You know, I know most of us just know Doug Emhoff as Kamala's pretend gay husband. Very, 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 very gay. Very, 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 very gay, obviously. Pretend husband. But what he was before he became that very gay pretend husband was a powerful entertainment lawyer in Hollywood. He even worked at a firm in D.C. at one point that dealt with, it backed, I think, something to do with the Democrat. But the guy's been an operative for a very, very long time. He's had immense power among these elite circles long before this fake marriage with Kamala. That is going to get attention. I've been screaming about this for a while. He is her handler. By all accounts, gay Doug, Second Gentleman Emhoff, hates vagina, loves being Kamala's handler. And if Kamala is the candidate or the president for even just a little while, attention is going to be paid to old Dougie. And Dougie here is not just the first second gentleman at the federal level. He's also, and I hate to even bring this up, but I know others will, he's also the first Jewish spouse of an American president or vice president. Kamala's the potential president's handler, if Kamala gets there or is a candidate, is a powerful Hollywood Jewish entertainment lawyer. It just, the narrative can't get any better than this type of thing, can it? I bring this up just to pay attention to social media because this will, I imagine, fuel the identity politics related conversations people are having, especially right now on social media. I mean, very, very narrative construction, not bad at all. I mean, none of it's a little non-believable, most of this stuff, but whatever. They definitely get points for creativity. Shifting gears a little bit, then I'm going to get out of here. To the UK election, which who cares? I don't care about that, really. But they have some interesting candidates that are running for the parliamentary position, which we do this here in smaller, like the Libertarian Party has a little bit of this flavor going on over here, but I'd like to see it reach this level that we see in the UK. And this is from the Washington Post. This article says, weighing in on the British Prime Minister's shoulders, because they're talking about these parliamentary elections that are coming up today. This is happening. Weighing in on the Prime Minister's shoulders is the burden of leading a slightly ailing nuclear power. Joining him, though, on the stage on election night will be a man wearing a trash can on his head. You heard that right. Joining him on stage will be a man with a trash can on his head. That's because when the results of the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's constituency are read out, broadcast live on television, his opponents will include Count Binface, a self-described intergalactic space lord who is part of a perennial tradition of satirical candidates standing against prominent politicians. They call him satirical, and yeah, it is a bit satirical. But, that's also kind of a way to dismiss, maybe, if they do have some good messages. What was the guy, I can't remember the guy with Vermin Supreme, I think, the guy who had the shoe on his head, who ran for Libertarian candidate a couple times, not this time, but here's the, let me find, that's the wrong one. Here's this guy named Ben, the trash can head candidate, Count Binface. I'd like to get Count Binface over here personally. There he is. So there's Count Binface. You can see, if you're watching, his head is a trash can. And he's got a cape on, black gloves, and just a space-looking Star Wars-like outfit. That's right, Nate. We're talking Count Binface tonight at the late night stream. But this is a guy who Rishi is going to be standing next to, likely to get some votes. Count Binface, whose joke manifesto includes pledges to cap the price of croissants and ban noisy snacks from cinemas. That's actually not a bad idea. It's part of the long tradition of joke candidates. Other contenders include an activist in an Elmo suit. Activist, pedophile, an activist in an Elmo suit, and the Monster Raving Loony Party, which stands for insanity. That makes no sense to me, but that's what the article says. There's a candidate who goes by Monster Raving Lunatic Party, which stands for insanity. I don't know. How does that stand for? It's not an acronym for insanity, and they don't explain the connection there. Whatever. But that's who Ricci's going to be, surrounded by. They probably do a thing there where, like, Ricci probably used to be trash can head here, for all we know, and you got to work your way up to being the actual joke candidate. They say joke candidates. They're all joke candidates. Every one of them is a joke candidate. You can't tell me Joe Biden's not a joke candidate. Donald Trump, a reality TV star. I mean, the presidency, the politics, it's all joke candidates. Some of them just convince us that they're a lot more serious than we should really think that they are. They should all have trash cans on their heads. Not Elmo suits on there. That's creepy. That's Lindsey Graham territory. Lindsey Graham has nothing but Elmo suits and one business suit in his closet. And there's no telling what a black light would reveal on those Elmo suits. Ugh. The article also talks about the PR stunts that these politicians, not the trash can heads, but the ones who end up winning sometimes, like Ricci, what they engage in. And it says, this year, it was the turn of the leader of the Liberal Democrats to embrace the stunts that they do. Ed Davey toured Britain's water parks, it's one of their politicians, to highlight water pollution, and in the process fell off of his paddleboard 5 times in front of the cameras. Oops, I'm a normal person. He later admitted at least one of his plunges was deliberate. Of course it was. It's all a show. I find it interesting that they're highlighting the stunts and the show of it over there as though we don't do it over here. The seemingly joviality of British politics does not represent a failure to take the art of electioneering seriously, though, said Crowley, but reflects an effort by campaign strategists to speak to Britain's political sensibilities because, we've all been on a paddleboard and fallen in the water before. I wasn't going to vote for this asshole until he fell in that water just like I did that one time when I drank too much. I'll vote for this prick now. That's how stupid they think people are. You see some guy fall into the water just like other people, and you go, holy shit, I thought he was a blood-sucking, baby-killing demon until he did that one thing that I did once. He's got my vote. I mean, go screw yourself with this bullshit. If you're gonna, like, that level of how can we make you more relatable to people? What if we get some cameras around, we put you on a paddle boat, and you fall in the water. And everybody agreed on that. Everybody said, that's it. That's all these stupid shits whose vote you're trying to win. They're so stupid. That's all they need is to see you fall. Yes, and they went with it. No, screw you, you stupid politicians and strategists. Here's a quote wrapping up this stupid article. Brits, this is so, like, I just can't imagine a British person reading this. It's so insulting to them, but really to all of us, because it's us also. They probably have the same version of this story over there, just it talks about Americans. It says, Brits don't like pomposity. Really? Brits don't like pomposity? I challenge that assertion, first and foremost. Brits don't like pomposity, and what can seem like being statesmanlike in some countries might here come across as being an incredibly pompous. Being British comes off as being incredibly pompous sometimes. And then he said, so part of the campaign is also trying to humanize the person. What's the solution to pompous asshole? You fall off a paddleboard. Then the dumb shits will come for you. They'll vote. They are so out of touch with reality. What should they do? You know what they should do to have them be more relatable to people, voters, is they should do a PR stunt where the politician's kid comes home and says that they're trans and they're the sex that they're not, and their hair's pink, and they've stuck in some piercing through their eyeball, and then they develop a crack cocaine addiction. Well, that would be more relatable to President Biden. Take that out. Take that one away. The rest of it, have the politician's kid bring home a friend and say, can my friend who got her parents kicked her out of her house stay here tonight? And then the politician says, yeah. And then the friend walks in and it's just a Chinese boy who's wearing a pair of giant fake plastic tits that you can just take off and throw on the floor. Like, have them do that PR stunt, then they'll be more relatable. Oh, he fell off a paddleboard. I wonder if his kid also works with an Asian boy who wears fake tits and calls himself a female. All right, J.K. Rawlings. Nate says he had a buddy move to England last year. They might be even more dumb than Americans. Where's Recyclops? Yeah, right. Let me check Rockfin, see if there's any, what's going on here. Okay. I'm doing one more story, I think. What time is it? Yeah, I'll do one more. I gotta go get a little bit of rest because I'm going to do that festival tomorrow. But J.K. Rawlings, I don't like using trendy words like based or slaps. But I guess to trigger the algorithm, sometimes you do that. So what they say is based. I am going to say that J.K. Rawlings, the author of the Harry Potter books, is pretty based in her latest activity, and she has been for a little while, in fact. And this article, is that up on the screen there? Headline, J.K. Rawlings blast, quote, gender Taliban David Tennant after Harry Potter actor said winging trans critics are on the wrong side of history. There they are there. David Tennant with his I wish I were super gay face. I used to like David Tennant until he decided he needed to speak up like this. David Tennant's the kind of guy who probably falls off paddleboards in front of cameras on purpose. During an appearance at the British LGBT Awards, oh wow, that was probably quite an event. David Tennant called on British Equalities Minister. The British have an Equalities Minister who apparently said something David Tennant didn't like because he called on her to shut up. He told a woman to shut up after she advocated for banning trans women from entering women's toilets and sports teams. So actually, the British Equalities Minister, on the surface, was doing a good job, which David Tennant didn't like. In an interview from that same event, Tennant called transgender critics a, quote, tiny bunch of little winging effers who are on the wrong side of history, and they will go away soon. Maybe they'll fall off paddle boards and they'll never come back up. What is it that Hillary says again? Hold on. Hillary, the quote she keeps doing. Unburdened by what has been. Okay. So back here, earlier in the week, J.K. Rawlings branded people like Tennant the gender Taliban. I think that's a great term. She's a writer right there. That's a good writer. That's almost a Trump-like insult. In post on X this past Friday, she expanded on her comments to address Tennant's quote about the wrong side of history. And here's what she wrote. She wrote, "This man is talking about rape survivors who want female-only care. The nurses currently suing their health trust for making them change in front of a man, girls and women losing sports opportunities to male and female two male and female prisoners incarcerated with convicted sex offenders." So I didn't read that quote properly in the tone I think it was written. So she's talking about rape survivors who want female-only care. The nurses currently suing their health trust for making them change in front of men, girls losing opportunities in sports, all the way to males and female prisoners incarcerated with sex offenders. And she shows an image of David Tennant's quote. And then she said, "For a man who is supposedly a model of compassion and tolerance, he sure does want a lot of people to cease to exist." Rowling also renewed her disagreement with Radcliffe, the actor from Harry Potter, who, following the publication of the case review into gender identity services for young people in Britain, so they had a report on it, which concluded that there was remarkably weak evidence for giving young people transition treatments. You think? Do you think? Is that really? What a surprise. Rawlings said on X in response to that, celebs who cozied, I don't even know what that word is, C-O-S-I-E-D. I'm sure, cozied up to a movement intent on eroding women's hard-won rights, and who use their platform to cheer on transitioning of minors can save their apologies for traumatized detransitioners and vulnerable women reliant on single-sex spaces. I say drop the mic on J.K. Rawlings, who is a Democrat. She is a Democrat. And they hate her. Great work from her. All right, one more. We'll still do one more. Screw it. It's 4th of July. We'll do one more quick story. This is one we had on potential roster for yesterday. You can see the headline there. Headline says, "Woman lands in cuffs over cuddle kerfuffle. Boyfriend battered after declining physical intimacy." So that's quite a headline. And in the article here, let me find, where is it? All right. It says, a Florida woman yesterday was arrested for domestic battery after attacking her boyfriend because he declined to cuddle with her, police allege. Investigators say the cuddle kerfuffle began Saturday evening when Jillian Ayugan, 22 years old, that's her right there, and by the looks of her, she sticks, what kind of needles are those that are in her head? She sticks like really long push pins, like 2-inch push pins directly into her head, based on this picture here, which should be a sign of something. It began on Saturday when she argued with her beau regarding the victim's disinterest and defended engaging in physical intimacy. The dispute reignited Sunday morning, so she went back for it. She said, "Come on, we're going to do this. You didn't cuddle with me last night. Get over here and press your body against mine after she tried continually to cuddle with the victim that morning. When the man rebuffed the cuddling, police say that she escalated the dispute to a physical confrontation, and she allegedly grabbed the victim's chest hair. That's a move right there. That's a move. When the first thing you go for is, I'm going to grab their chest hair, that's a bitch who's been in prison. She served some time, and she's learned some tactics. Went for his chest hair, scratched his face, bit him on the forehead, and broke his phone. I don't know why she broke his phone. She was almost definitely tracking him. So she's hurting herself there. This is a hard bitch right here, dude. After being read her rights, she reportedly admitted that she continued to touch the victim multiple times after being repeatedly told to stop. And she characterized, and I read the actual police report. She admitted to doing all of these things, the pulling, the biting, all of it. Except she described it to police as cuddling. She thought she was cuddling. What do you mean you're calling the police? We've just been cuddling. She's got a handful of his chest hair in her hand and part of his forehead skin stuck between her teeth. And she's like, this is how we always cuddle. Seen above, Eugene was arrested for domestic battery, misdemeanor, and booked into the county jail. And she was released from custody and told to have no contact with the victim. They lived together, so I don't know how they're going to have no contact. Was there anything else in the police report that they left out? Let me see. No, I don't think so. Let me put her back on screen just to get a look at her. Because I don't think she's to blame. I think she should be freed. I think the boyfriend is at fault. I think they should arrest the boyfriend. They should free her. They should arrest him for falsely. What you think he called 911? I mean, he had to have, right? The guy had to have called 911 because his girlfriend wanted to cuddle with him. That's tough. You can't really tell people that. I mean, bro, you called 911 because this bitch wanted to cuddle. No, I mean, people he tells that to don't realize that by cuddling, she means like stabbing and cutting and ripping. They don't know that. They just think normal cuddle. What I would argue, though, if I were this woman's lawyer, she does need a new boyfriend. You're right. You know how many guys there are laying around in their bed by themselves going, I just wish I had a girl here to stab me in the throat. I would say, Your Honor, I dismiss the charges. Dismiss the charges, Your Honor. Take a look at my client. Just look at her. She took a sharp 2-inch push pin and shoved it directly into her forehead as a fashion statement. I mean, this is what she enjoys. She likes having sharp objects plunged into her skull and through her nose. It's unreasonable to believe that anyone who takes one look at my client would not immediately know that cuddling with her most likely involves violence. In fact, that's why everyone she's ever dated has asked her out. The expectation of violent cuddling. And you're telling me that she did something wrong when she is as advertised. And this guy's pretending to think that this woman who shoved a needle in her skull and leaves it there has ever cuddled in a way that did not involve blood. No jury would believe this so-called victim. Case dismissed. That's where I'm going to end the show. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. Nate, thanks for hanging out in the chats. Thank you, Sam, for checking out the chats. And I see this 6-Speed Sabre who is promoting their Rumble channel in there. Good luck with that. 6 out to check it out before I subscribe. Maybe I will. Maybe it's right up my alley. But I'm going to go lay down for a little bit. And if you guys are at the festival tomorrow, maybe I'll see you there. Thanks for watching, guys. Propagandafight.com, patreon.com/propaganda report. Find me on X at Freedom Act Radio. Share the show with your friends. PayPal, you can make one-time donation if you want to help the show. Share the show. Leave a comment, a 5-star review that warms my heart. All of it helps the show. Happy 4th of July. Talk to y'all next time. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Good night.